To the world, he looked unshakable, the firefighter who never flinched, the one you'd want kicking in your door when the flames were rising fast. He was the first in, the last out, the calm in chaos. But no one knew what happened before the sirens, before the gear, before he stepped into the fire. Because Elijah Brooks wasn't just fighting fires, he was fighting something no one could see. A war waged in silence, panic attacks disguised as headaches, shaken hands hidden behind gloves, racing thoughts masked by routines. He didn't talk about it, because who would believe that the strongest guy in the room was afraid of his own breath? Then came one call, one moment, one fire where everything broke and everything began. This is the story of a man who couldn't breathe until he learned how to lead others through the smoke. So, how does someone go from frozen by fear to the steady voice others depend on? You're about to find out. Elijah Brooks didn't grow up wanting to be a firefighter. He just wanted to feel safe, to silence the noise in his head, to stop his heart from racing when nothing was wrong, to be the kind of man people could count on, because for most of his childhood, he never had one. Raised in a small Ohio town, Elijah was the quiet kid who never caused trouble, but never quite fit in either. He'd freeze during presentations, skip parties without explanation, and sit in the back of the classroom with clenched fists and a fake smile. No one called it anxiety. They called it shyness, introverted, soft. At home, it wasn't any easier. His father believed in tough love, the kind that left no room for emotion and even less for fear. If Elijah cried, he was told to stop. If he panicked, he was told to man up. So he learned to keep it all inside, to hide the spirals, to mask the shallow breathing with deep inhales, to build walls, thick, quiet, polite ones, until no one could see him sweating underneath. After high school, he drifted, tried community college, dropped out, tried construction, didn't last. Then one day, on a whim, he followed a friend to a firefighter recruitment meeting. He didn't expect to make it, didn't think he had what it took. But when the instructor said, "Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid, it means you go anyway," something in Elijah cracked open. Maybe, just maybe, this was a place where fear could serve a purpose. So he signed up, pushed himself harder than he ever had, learned the drills, passed the tests, put on the uniform, and for a while, the panic stayed quiet. But firefighting wasn't just a job. It was sirens, chaos, smoke, screams, and every time that alarm went off, the thing Elijah had buried deep inside came roaring back. Not that anyone knew, he was Steady Eli, the guy who never blinked, the one who cracked jokes in the truck and carried kids out of burning homes. But inside, he was still holding his breath, still bracing for a breakdown, still waiting for the moment he couldn't hide it anymore. And that moment was coming faster than he realized. It happened on a frigid January morning, the kind of cold that makes the air bite back and slows even the bravest down. The call came in as a routine house fire, no visible victims, no red flags, just smoke reported by a neighbor. Elijah was first on the scene. He did what he always did, ran the check, cleared the perimeter, kept his voice steady on the radio. But then a scream, faint, muffled, a child's voice inside. The team looked to him, and in that instant, every muscle in Elijah's body locked up, not from fear of the fire, but from something deeper, older, quieter. His heart kicked into overdrive. His throat clenched, his vision tunneled. Panic. The real kind, the kind that makes your own breath feel like smoke, the kind that tells you to run, even when someone needs you to walk into the flames. He almost stepped back, almost said, "Someone else go," almost gave up the mask he'd worn for years. But then he saw the mother, barefoot on the lawn, sobbing, her arms outstretched to a house filling with smoke. And something in Elijah snapped, not in fear, but in purpose. He turned to his captain and said, "I'm going in." And for the first time in his life, he didn't push the panic away. He brought it with him, used it, let it sharpen his senses as he dropped to his knees, crawled through thick smoke, and followed the sound of a crying child to a closet door. He carried that boy out wrapped in a blanket, both of them coughing, shaking, but alive. And when the crowd clapped and the captain called him a rock, Elijah smiled politely, but inside, he was wrecked, because that wasn't courage, that was survival, and he knew he couldn't keep doing this alone. Elijah saved the boy, but he couldn't save himself from what came after. For weeks, he barely slept. The sound of that child's cry echoed in his dreams. The smoke, the sirens, the stillness right before the scream. They looped in his head like a broken alarm. He tried to go back to normal, joked at the station, filed reports, ran drills with perfect precision, but inside, something cracked. And for once, he didn't bury it. One night, long after his shift ended, he sat on the bumper of the engine, helmet in his hands, and whispered into the cold air, "I think I'm not okay." His captain heard him, didn't flinch, didn't hand him a pamphlet, just nodded and said, "You're still one of us. Let's get you support." And that simple act of being seen, not judged, became the beginning of something new. Elijah entered therapy, not in secret, not in shame. He called it mental maintenance. The same way you check your gear before a fire, he checked his thoughts. Learned to feel the panic, not fear it. He didn't cure his anxiety. He built a system around it, a grounding ritual before every call, a pocket note from his niece, "You're my hero," a breathing technique built into how he laced his boots. And slowly, the thing that once made him feel weak became part of his strength. He taught the rookies how to read their nerves, how to pause before panic controls the moment. He started a quiet shift tradition, checking in not just on their gear but on each other. People began to notice that Elijah didn't just lead with calm, he made calm contagious. Because when you've survived your own mind, you carry a kind of stillness no chaos can shake. Healing isn't a straight line, and for Elijah, the hardest fire was the one that didn't burn. It was a Tuesday morning when the call came in, an apartment building, 4 floors, gas leak reported, smoke, confusion, children inside. The team moved fast, masks on, ladders up. But something about this call, the crying, the chaos, the echoes of that boy in the closet, it hit Elijah like a memory. His hands shook as he clipped on his gear. His breath caught halfway in his throat. And for a moment, he stood at the threshold of the truck, frozen. The crew didn't push him. They waited. And Elijah, heart pounding, hands trembling, stepped forward anyway. Not because he wasn't afraid, but because he was. And he moved anyway. Inside the building, visibility was zero, screams mixed with the hiss of escaping gas. A rookie panicked behind him, stuck between stairs. Elijah turned, locked eyes with the younger firefighter, and said only 2 words, "Follow me." His voice was steady, his body calm, his mind a thunderstorm, but one he had learned to steer through. They found the children, guided them down. No one was hurt. Afterwards, the rookie pulled him aside. How did you stay so calm? Elijah didn't lie, he said. I wasn't, but I knew I'd been here before and survived. And that was enough. The department awarded him a medal, but Elijah barely looked at it. His real triumph wasn't in the rescue, it was in the return, in showing up not as someone without fear, but as someone who made peace with it. And from that day forward, whenever a call came in that made a rookie hesitate, they didn't ask, who's fearless? They asked, where's Elijah? Because sometimes the bravest person in the fire is the one who used to panic and still goes in anyway. Elijah never saw himself as a role model. He was just trying to keep breathing, one shift at a time. But the calm he fought to build inside himself, it spread. The rookie he saved that day, he's now a mental health officer at the station, the first in their district, the kids from the gas leak rescue. One of them wrote an essay called "The Firefighter Who Taught Me to Breathe Again." It made the local news. The captain who once rolled his eyes at therapy, he now starts every Monday shift by checking in with each crew member, not just their readiness, but their well-being. A new recruit program was launched, Courage Under Pressure, not to toughen rookies, but to teach emotional resilience. Guess who helped design it? Elijah never stood at the front of the room, but his fingerprints were on every new protocol, every wellness poster, every whispered, "It's okay. I get it." He didn't silence the panic in his story. He reframed it, and quietly, powerfully, he gave every firefighter permission to be brave and broken, strong and scared, to walk into fire not because they feel invincible, but because they care enough to go anyway. Some still whisper his name like a legend, but the ones who know him best, they just call him Steady because that's what he became. For them and for himself. Elijah never told the whole world his story, but those closest to him, they saw what silence sometimes hides and what courage really looks like. Captain Morales, fire station chief, said, "I used to think he was just the quiet type, didn't realize the storms he was riding under the surface. But when things went sideways, he was the one I looked for. Not because he was loud, because he was calm, because he was ready." Jasmine, EMT partner, said, "Elijah never rushed me, even when the scene was chaos. Even when I froze, he'd say one breath, then the next. He didn't just save lives, he saved mine more times than I can count." Reuben, rookie firefighter, said, "He caught me having a panic attack in the gear room. Didn't laugh, didn't judge. He just sat down next to me and said, 'I've been there, you'll come back. Just don't fight the breath.' I didn't quit the academy because of him." Maya, Elijah's sister, said, "When we were kids, he'd wake up shaken. Night after night, but he always made sure I was okay. Now I see that same heart in the way he shows up for others. He was always the bravest person I knew. He just didn't know it yet." Anonymous note on the station whiteboard said, "To whoever stocked the meditation cards in the locker room, thank you. I used one before my first call. I made it through. I think I will again. They say heroes don't show fear, but Elijah taught them something better. That bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward with it in your chest and someone's hand on your shoulder." These days, Elijah doesn't hide the tremors. He doesn't pretend the fire doesn't scare him, because now he understands something deeper. The fire outside, it's never been the real battle. It's the one inside. the one that sparks in the chest when the alarm blares, when the memory flashes, when the breath shortens before the mask goes on. But Elijah doesn't run from that fire anymore. He's learned how to carry it, to shape it, to walk straight through it and come out stronger. At his firehouse, there's a new protocol now, one he helped write. It doesn't just teach CPR and gear drills, it teaches breath work, mental resets, peer check ins, and what to do when your courage feels too heavy to lift alone. He's still the quiet one, still not a fan of awards, still keeps a common stone in his back pocket just in case. But every new recruit now hears his story in training, not to scare them, but to show them that even the strongest need space to feel. And sometimes, in the quiet of the bunk room, a younger firefighter will knock on his door and whisper, "Hey, I think I need help." Elijah always opens the door because he remembers the night no one knocked for him, and he vowed no one else would face that silence alone. The fire still burns, but so does he, not in panic, not in fear, but in purpose, because the calm others count on was forged in the panic he thought would consume him, and now that calm saves lives. Elijah used to think courage was loud, that it looked like shouting commands, rushing into danger without hesitation, never blinking, never breaking. But now he knows true courage is quiet. It's the breath you take before the doors open, the step you take when your mind begs you to run, the moment you admit, "I'm not okay, but I'm still going." He used to feel ashamed, ashamed that his body shook in silence, that his strongest muscle, his heart, was sometimes the one betraying him. But over time, Elijah realized something profound. His anxiety wasn't weakness, it was sensitivity in high definition. It made him see the signs no one else caught, made him move with intention instead of impulse, made him the calm in someone else's storm. We often tell stories about heroes with fire in their eyes, but some of the bravest souls, they're the ones who carry fire in their chests and learn how to hold it gently. Elijah doesn't want to be remembered as the fearless one. He wants to be remembered as the one who kept going, even when it felt impossible. And maybe that's the kind of hero we need most. If Elijah's story struck a chord, don't let it stop here. Share this with someone who's been battling quietly, someone who's walked into their own version of fire without anyone ever seeing the smoke. Leave a comment for the firefighters, nurses, EMTs, teachers, and all the silent heroes who carry panic and pressure but keep showing up. Let them know we see them. That bravery doesn't always roar. Sometimes it breathes, sometimes it trembles, and sometimes it walks into fire anyway. If you believe in stories that redefine strength, that give voice to the struggles we hide, subscribe to Able in every way, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward with your fear beside you.